there are some strange people who could be hugely generous one minute and very grudging about something else the next. That doesn't really make sense, and God is not illogical and inconsistent. If he was willing to go the way of the cross to save us, willing to go that far, is he just going to shrug his shoulders about us later on? That would be like buying an expensive present for somebody and then only giving them bits of it so that the whole thing was useless. Like buying somebody a television set and taking out the controls first. Or like giving somebody the gift of a car but locking it up in a garage and refusing to give them the key. Illogical. And God is not like that. He gave us his Son. He gave us his Son. Will he not freely give us all that we need? In the life and death and triumph of Jesus, God is showing that he is for us. God believes that we are worth loving. And Paul's logic soars on. In Jesus, he says, God has declared us not guilty, free from penalty. Have you thought about that? I've met people who find it impossible to believe that they can be forgiven for something they once did. But who is going to make charges stick against us when God himself has decided that we are pardoned? In Jesus Christ you are forgiven, and there is nobody and there is nothing that can take that forgiveness away from you. And then Paul makes what I think is one of the most astonishing statements in the whole Bible. He says that it is Jesus himself who intercedes for us in heaven. Jesus himself who prays for us before the throne of his Father. Jesus' work did not finish on Calvary's cross. The final victory was won then, but he is still at work applying the fruits of that victory. And Paul says that the very Jesus who died and who triumphed over death and who was raised into glory pleads our case before the throne of God. And that's a beautiful echo of Jesus' own promise, which we read in the Gospel of Matthew today. Those who declare publicly that they belong to me, I will do the same for them before my Father in heaven. Does that mean that we will live a charmed life then? Free from difficulties, free from troubles? No, it doesn't. People don't, and the church doesn't. Paul could never hope to convince anybody that we might be able to have a free ride like that, because he himself had many a scar and many a searing memory of what it had cost him to take up his own cross and follow Jesus. But in the midst of it all, he had known that he was never deserted. Even in the midst of the worst terrors, God had gone with him. And he put that conviction onto paper in the most marvellous way in those verses we read from the letter to the Romans. Here is how the Living Bible renders his words. When we have trouble or calamity, when we're hunted down or destroyed, is it because he doesn't love us anymore? If we're hungry, or penniless, or in danger, or threatened with death, has God deserted us? No. For the Scripture tells us that for his sake we must be ready to face death at every moment of the day. But despite all this, overwhelming victory is ours through Christ, who loved us enough to die for us. Overwhelming victory is ours. And Paul didn't even stop there, because having spelled out some of the things round about us that might threaten us, trouble, hunger, calamity, death, demonic powers, things present, things to come, he went on to say that nowhere, and by no thing, nothing, by nothing on the earth, by nothing from the worlds of outer space, that there is nothing that can take away the love that Jesus has shown and proved, or stand between us and that love. Nothing. I give you what Paul has written as something to cling to. It may well be that you will never need it. It may be that you will only need it a little. It may be that one day you will need it desperately. So get a good grasp of it now, so that when the time comes, you'll have been prepared. And know this, that even if a time of great testing never comes, your life will be stronger and calmer if you hold fast to the great truth that flowed from Paul's pen in that marvellous cataract of words and thoughts about which I've been reminding you this afternoon. That God is for us, that Jesus pleads our case, that there is nothing that can separate us from his love. The scholar Halford Locker told a lovely story about the English actress Deborah Kerr. She had been making a film back about 60 years ago, I have to say, based in a book that was written 100 years ago by a Polish guy who later won the Nobel Prize for Literature.